So I have another story time for you guys, but not just so you can be in my business, but because I have learned a lot about the heart chakra in relation to relationships. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed because I meant to record this video. Well, actually I did record this video a couple days ago, and then either the audio was off or, oh, I think the focus was blurry. Hopefully it's okay now. Yeah, the square is falling on my face. And I wanted to do it over, but now, like, I've had so many downloads since then, I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I start? So this video is about, if you are interested in being in a romantic relationship, you want to watch this video. And the reason why is because a lot of people don't understand how relationships work energetically and spiritually, and I have a good grasp on it right now. And eventually I'm going to introduce the chakra system and all of that and talk more about energetics and spirituality. That's what I was doing when I was setting the foundation, talking about Tantra and Kundalini. But I have to share this while it's on my mind. So this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, I went out of town and I do something that I normally don't do. I went into a cannabis store, dispensary, and I asked the person in the shop what type of gummies, I like gummies, that they suggest for me. And I just wanted to relax, sleep well, and then get up and hang out with my family later. He suggested one thing, and then he suggested a couple of things, and he mentioned one thing that had like a body high and like, I guess, a physical, mental high. And I was like, I think I've had something like that before. I'll try that. And I was like, how much should I eat the half? And like, I took it, I think maybe a third of it. Gummy was way too strong. It was terrifyingly strong. I've never been that high in my life, but the beauty of this terrifying experience and thinking I was going to be in a psych ward for the rest of my life when I was high all night and into the next day, I was, cognizant enough to get out and move around, but like it was at the height of the high. You guys know what I'm talking about when you eat like some type of edible or gummy, was like terrifying. I got to see deep into my subconscious mind, and I saw how I was in a karmic loop. And if you watched my last ritual that I shared on my Patreon, you know that I did a ritual to manifest love because I had been feeling lonely. It's been a year since my last breakup and I'm a hopeless romantic, and I wanted to figure out what I needed to move or whatever to find my life partner, essentially. And I think this is why this came up. So what happened is, at the height of my high, I was able to see myself in a karmic loop, and I was just walking back and forth and back and forth. It was almost as if a reality opened within a reality, but I was where I was in the physical reality. I was like hovering above myself, but I was going inside my mind, hovering above myself. If you've ever been on some type of psychedelic or been in some type of trance, you know what I'm talking about. But when portals open up in your mind and you're able to have a bird's eye view of things, you're not really hovering above in outer space. It's like you're going deeper into yourself. It's almost as if, like, okay, there's the physical body, but to get to the realms, like the higher realms, you have to go through the skin, through the muscle, through the bone, down to the cell, down to the particles, down to the increments, and then there's like consciousness in each of those layers. And the deeper you're able to go, the deeper into your subconscious mind, and just doing consciousness and spirit form, you are light, the purest essence of us. You access that. That's the portal. The portal is not somewhere up in the sky, not for us to tap into. The portal is literally inside of us. You have to go in, which is what yoga teaches us, but I understand it on a more in-depth level. You have to go in order to expand outward. And so what happened was, it was like I went inside my mind, my brain, my consciousness, and I could see there was a part, like I say, there's your consciousness in your mind has a whole bunch of different rooms. It's like I entered one room where I was literally circling, And physically, at that time, I was circling. I was walking back and forth because I was afraid to go to sleep, because I was afraid that I wasn't going to wake up, and I didn't know where my mind was taking me. But also, that was the case in my real life. I was trying to hold on to control of something, and what Spirit was showing me is that as long as I'm trying to hold on to control, because I have anxiety and fear around letting go, it creates a frequency that holds me there. And the thing that I want is here. So everything is on a frequency, and depending on what frequency you're on is what you align with. You see, so there's a frequency down here, there's a frequency up here, there's a frequency over there. And most of the time, if there's something that we want, the frequency is not necessarily higher, but it's lighter. So that means that whatever's down here, okay, and you're manifesting, think of a diagram. If you want to manifest something into the 3D realm, you constrict and you find structure. But the more you constrict and find structure, the less room you have to move around, because it's like smaller and smaller. But if you are in this physical realm, in order to hold that structure, you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's fine if you want to sustain where you are. But if you want something different, you can't stay in this lower, heavier frequency state and maintain that by doing the same thing. You have to do something different. You have to release that pattern, open up. And as you release, you naturally elevate to a lighter frequency. And so the pyramid starts to go like this, or the triangle starts to go like this. And this is thought, this is emotions. Well, emotions and feelings are a little bit lower, but once you get past the emotions and the feelings, there's thought, and there's light, and there's like pure spirit and consciousness, and it's very expansive. But the expansiveness, guess what the expansiveness is? It's kind of nothing. There's nothing in the expansiveness. It's a void. And in that void, though, is where you can literally manifest anything, because anything can be manifest in the dark. Anything. If you think about when we're born, we are conceived in the dark from like literally nothing. You know, the essence of us is coming from somewhere. It's a portal. But it's coming from within. It's coming from within the womb, within the dark matter, and it manifests within a womb. And then slowly parts start to come together. And as these cycles, you got the menstrual cycle, and then you've got a lot of other cycles that are happening during conception, and then and building the baby through hormones and neurotransmitters and all these great things of natural intelligence that Mother Nature has on Earth. And then all of a sudden you have a fetus, and all of a sudden you have a baby, and then the baby comes through the birth canal, and then you have a whole human being. But it starts off in the void where there's nothing. There's nothing there. And then, the feminine, masculine energies come together to create a spark of something, like an explosion, which also happens in the cosmos. But when you are trying to manifest something, a desire you have, a want, you literally have to go into that void. And when you tap into that void, that is where you can manifest anything. But it's very scary because there's no anchor. And that's what I was seeing. That's what Spirit was showing me when I was high. In this void place, you have to completely let go. And when you completely let go, there's nothing to grasp. There's nothing to hold on to. And depending on how far you are away from what you want to get, it can feel very irritating and anxious, like your nervous system can't take it, because it's like you're so far away from what's familiar to your body, what's familiar to your nervous system. It's like, oh my gosh, like, where am I? And I remember when I was high, I had to keep reminding myself what my name was, where I was, because I was in an Airbnb in another state, and why I was there, which I was there to visit my family and see my son. He was graduating. But you just have to, I had to keep telling that because I was so nervous. But if I would have let go and been like, it'll be fine, even though I didn't know if it was going to be fine or not, I would have just sank into the void and been comfortable with that. And my nervous system could have got regulated to that. But that's where I need to go to manifest the things that I don't have, especially when it comes to abundance in every area of life. when it comes to money and physical health and relationships. If you want to manifest something that you, especially that you're not even close to, can't even reach, it requires you to elevate substantially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, which requires you to change, stop what you're doing, open up, release what's got you kind of stuck doing the same thing, and then create another cycle. And you don't have to go through a whole bunch of cycles if you don't want to. But a lot of us, it's hard to release something that sends us from here to here because our nervous system has to adapt first. So a lot of times we go from little cycle to little cycle to little cycle. But if you understand how manifestation works, and you can get comfortable with the idea of it through meditation, through relaxation, through just enjoying the process and being comfortable with the process, because you're trusting what's going to happen. You're trusting the process. You hear this, people say this all the time, but now I understand it like in an embodied way. The more you can trust the process, the quicker you will get there, because you don't have to be in these karmic cycles for as long and then go through something and then be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. This is why I want this. Let me release it and move forward. And I found myself, especially in relationships, because I learn a lot through relationships. I think it's because I'm a Cancer and it's just my life journey, that I find myself in these cycles that were very, very similar. They just looked a little differently. And sometimes I did improve. Sometimes I moved away from things even quicker, but I still was kind of being mirrored the same thing over and over again. And that's when I realized it's like, oh, because I'm not letting go and I'm not trusting the process, I'm still trying to control things. So once I completely let go, I will naturally allow the universe to align me with what frequency I'm on. And the more I trust it, the more I will elevate. The more I release, the more I will elevate. Now, we have karmic attachments. Sometimes it's children, sometimes it's jobs, sometimes it's a lot of things. And so that can make the transition a little bit harder to let go, being that we're living a human life. But if you're okay with being uncomfortable for a little while, you will be fine, especially if it's a true heart desire. Now, if you are desiring something that you really don't want, then you might get it, or you might go along a path that is like very contradictory to your health, to like what's actually going to make you happy. But if it's a true soul's desire, if you let go, you will be fine. But our nervous system has to allow us to be comfortable enough to do that. The other thing that I learned about manifestation while I was high in relationships is that all relationships hover on this same frequency. So a couple of things that I saw in my third eye while I was high is that, which scared me to death too, besides going inside myself and seeing myself, a certain part of my subconscious mind being locked in a karmic cycle, I also saw like the 3D reality completely fade away. Like I saw the process of it. So think about me. Imagine that I just started disintegrating little by little. So first I turned into 2 pieces, then I turned into 10 pieces, then I turned into 100 pieces, then I turned into 1,000 pieces, then I turned into 100,000 pieces, 100,000, then I turned into 1,000,000 particles, to the point where you can't even recognize me anymore, and all you see is colors, and all you see is like these particles like moving. And that showed me that, you know, the reality of what we live in the 3D is not, I don't want to say it's not real, but it's not as real as the energy that makes it up. And what happened is the 3D realm that I was familiar with had broken down to light, because everything breaks down to energy and light. And because everything had broken down to energy and light, I was able to recognize the chakras. And so there was a lot of green and a lot of orange. And I know we haven't talked about the chakras, but green chakra is the green chakra. The heart chakra resonates with the green frequency, and the orange chakra resonates with the sacral energy, or the pleasure center, or the reproductive center, or the sacral center. And so I knew, I was like, oh, I'm working on these 2 chakras. These chakras are coming up. And so I saw these waves, you know, of particles moving through my third eye, and there was these orange this orange, like orange background, and then there was a green background. And what I could intuitively receive through seeing these things is that relationships all hover on the same frequency. The only difference between like what we call in our human concept structure, which this is a societal structure concept of romantic relationships, is there's a resonance with the heart chakra and the sacral chakra, and that's what we call romantic relationships. But which shows how unique they are. But the reality is your family relationship dynamics, your romantic relationship dynamics, your platonic relationships, your business relationships, they all hover on the same frequency. And this is important to remember, because say you are in a romantic relationship dynamic where you are overgiving and you're under receiving. Not only are you going to set yourself in a cycle that keeps you on a frequency in romantic relationships that the reciprocation is not equal, but it also will affect your business relationships, and it also will affect your family dynamics. So if you're dealing with somebody that has like a lower kind of mean frequency in romantic relationships, more than likely you're going to experience that in your family relationship dynamics. You're also going to experience, in business, you might get scammed a lot. That's what happens because that's the frequency you're at, and relationships all hover in the same frequency. If you want an elevated relationship dynamic, there is a cycle that you have to let go of, and that's why money and love, how sometimes you see people on social media, now sometimes it's not true, but if you're paying very close attention, a lot of times people who are very abundant, they're not just abundant in one area, they're abundant in health, they're abundant in their relationships, they have good business relationships, and they have like a wife or they have a husband, and it's like they have everything. You're like, man, how they have everything? Like, how's that possible? And people will say, oh, you can have everything, but you can't have everything at once. That's when you are like manifesting certain things. Like as human beings, we can only enjoy so many things at once. We can only invest so much time at once. But when it comes to relationships, you can have all good relationships. And if you think about it psychologically, it makes sense, because these chakras and these energetic centers are affected by thoughts. They are affected by mood. So if you grow up as a child and you create this relationship dynamic with your mother or your father that makes you feel like you have to earn love, or makes you feel like you're not good enough, or that you always have to give a lot more than what you're receiving emotionally, mentally, whatever, that is a subconscious, like hardwired program that's in your mind that you carry with you, unless you are aware of it and are able to change it, that you carry through adulthood. And when you're an adult, you have romantic relationships, you have business relationships, you have co-working relationships. And so that's where that hardwire is like your prototype for every other relationship. So in business, you naturally might expect to get less, or you have less boundaries, or you have lower standards, because that's hardwired into your relationship chakra. Also, that chakra is not about just relationships with other people, it's all about relationships with yourself as well. Also, your pleasure center, and sexually, when you are connecting with somebody else, depending on how you feel about your sexuality, you also will feel that way about whoever else you're with. And that's why you will find very conservative men will like point the finger at women and be like, oh, you're doing this, you're on OnlyFans, or you are, or you're dressed scantily, and and they're like very, very critical. Those are the same guys that watch porn. Those are the same guys that masturbate all day, and then they feel bad, and then they scold themselves and they're hard on themselves. Those are the same guys that are constantly fighting their lust, and they don't know how to control it, and they feel bad about themselves. So they're projecting that onto their partners. Their relationship with themselves is also the relationship that they have with other people. It's also the relationship they have in business. It's also the relationship they have with anybody they cheat with, or their family dynamics. They may look at their mother a certain way, or they look at their sisters a certain way, or they look at men in their family a certain way. So it's such a great way to, so I feel like everything that I've learned helped me understand relationships more as resonance and like spiritual alignment, because at the end of the day, that's how you get what you want. You have to manifest a relationship in the same way that you manifest anything else you want. And it's not just writing, a list and then praying and then letting it go. It's also about like, where are you resonating at? And so if you have a poor relationship with yourself and you have poor boundaries and you're not taking care of yourself to the utmost, because you could be kind of taking care of yourself and you can have a kind of good relationship with someone else. You could be kind of having a good taking care of yourself, and you can kind of have good business partners. Half the time they're maybe good, half the time they're not. Half the time you're taking care of yourself, half the time you're not. And what I'm learning is that for myself, there's a hardwired program from probably when I was a child, probably some parenthood wounds that I need to release and heal and let go of. And I think I've been doing it little by little, but I understand on a deeper level how to actively do that. I actively do that by taking care of myself. I actively do that by prioritizing my health and things that give me longevity, not just shopping. I mean, I love getting my nails done and stuff like that, but things that really feed me spiritually, physically, emotionally, that elongate my life, that really show that I love myself, not that I'm pretending to love myself or that I'm trying to create an aesthetic so that somebody will love me, which happens a lot on men and women's end. And so now that I know that that's what I need to do to manifest the type of partner and love that I want, I'm not focused on having a partner anymore. I'm just focused on healing myself. There's a lot of things mentally, physically, emotionally I haven't had time to do to care for myself. And so I decided that I will not be focusing on any type of romantic relationships until I get those things done. So I don't have a checklist for the type of man I want. I have a checklist for me. I have a checklist to do the things that I know I've been putting off to heal. And then I feel like, well, I know that once I address those things and I'm where I'm at as a person, I will naturally align and vibrate with somebody else who resonates with that frequency. And if you're resonating on those frequency, even with pleasure and stuff like that, if I'm pleasing myself and I'm having a joyous time and enjoying my relationship with my sexuality and fully, for me and my sexuality, I think it's more about fully embracing it and just not caring what people think, just doing whatever the fuck that I want to do. Whatever pleases me that's coming from a sincere place and not coming from a desperate place, that's how I'm able to resonate in a healthy, centered space for me and a balanced space for me. That's what I need to work on sexually and with my pleasure, and giving myself permission to just be happy and to be pleased. And not always thinking that necessarily the most fulfilling part comes from somebody else. And being content in this space, because even in relationships, what I realized is that it goes through phases. And so if you don't know how to take care of yourself, it's going to be hard to take care or be in a relationship that has ebbs and flows and where there's challenges and things like that. It's like if you can't be happy because every now and then you come in a bump in the road in your relationships, you can't sustain it. And so as I resonate on those frequencies of taking care of myself, I think naturally, because it's natural for us to want to be social, I will get out and I will resonate with someone, and there'll be so much resonance that we will be able to continue to grow and stay together for a very long time. And I love the idea of looking at love and relationships and romantic relationships like that, seeing romantic relationships and that concept more as a social construct, and seeing like the nature of healing relationships and being in like finding a life partner more as resonance and energy, and manifesting it through just like doing what's best for me. And how beautiful is that? It's that easy. And so what just came to mind also is that in understanding how relationships work is that most people don't love themselves enough to actually be in a healthy relationship. most people do not love themselves enough to actually be in a healthy relationship. And it's not an individual problem, it's a systemic problem. We constantly have systems in place to make us feel like we're not enough, to make us feel like we're not worthy of love. We constantly have stuff that's being advertised us to tell us, take Ozempic, eat this, go here, buy this. And if you do these things, you will attract love, because at the end of the day, that's what most of us want. But it's also important to remember that true joy and peace and happiness is on an energetic and spiritual level. We have more peace and joy and love when our spirit is in balance, when our emotions are in balance, when psychologically we are in balance. So anything that feeds that is actually what is going to give us joy consistently. It's what's going to give us peace consistently. If you have some ice cream or your favorite dessert, or you buy a bag or your favorite shoes, you eat it, you enjoy it for like 5 seconds or 10 hours. I mean, I'm probably the only one that eats ice cream that fast. You enjoy it for like 5 minutes and then it's gone. I mean, it feels good, but then if that's your only source of joy, you're gonna need more. And that's how we gain weight and overeat. If you buy things that are really fancy and pretty, they can stay fancy and pretty for a long time, but eventually they wear out. Sometimes they get lost, things happen to them. But even just having it, the feeling of having it, can make you happy for the time that you have it or the time that you're wearing it and using it. But it's not sustainable over time unless there's something else. Like maybe being able to purchase it because you worked really hard, or it was a gift for somebody and it has sentimental value, or it reminds you of something, or it makes you feel good and look good, or adorns your body every time that you wear it, and it really amplifies your natural beauty. Then that could be the reason why it makes you feel good. However, things can easily be tarnished and you could lose them. And then if that's the only thing that's bringing you joy, it cannot be sustained. And so if you think about relationships that way, if you're going off, how much somebody makes or what they look like, or if they're fit or not, like these things oftentimes we think represent, like what it is that we want and compatibility, and that can be somewhat true. But someone could get sick and not be able to work out. Someone could have a hard time and they could lose their job. And in those moments, it's not the job or the fitness level that should sustain the relationship and your attraction to the person. It's the mentality that made them want to get up and work out every day. It's their desire to want to take care of themselves. It's their ideas, and like the things that drive them to be who they are. And that's a spiritual, mental, emotional, and energetic thing. And those are the things that keep people together. That's also the things that make people gravitate towards wanting to have similar lifestyles. And that's how you're able to have a long-term partnership. And it's okay if some partnerships and some relationships only resonate for a few days, or for a little while. And it's also okay if they last a lifetime. But I think trying to force it is not the way you find success in relationships, any type of relationships. It's where you want to resonate, and the people that also want to resonate in those places with you. And you have to be able to elevate and not be locked into cycles or into hardwired patterns that come from wounds or childhood wounds or any wounds that you experienced, in order to be able to see them, in order to be able to feel them, in order to be able to recognize them, in order to be able to align with them.